What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, back with another WWE Week in Review, where I recap and review everything that went on TV for Raw, NXT, and Smackdown. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Social media is down there. This is the go-home shows for Backlash for Raw and Smackdown, so we'll go over that. I'll also be doing my Backlash preview and predictions video, as well as I also have my AEW weekend review up on the channel, so check all that out. Let me know what you think, which you won't, but it's okay. So we'll jump right into it. So we start off with Raw, the go-home show for Raw. As advertised, we had a Asuka versus Charlotte match, but unfortunately, card subject to change. So we got, as Asuka was in the ring, Sasha and Bayley's music hit. Instead of Charlotte's, they start going over their bona fides in the ring. Asuka said this is her ring and she wants to fight. As Sasha steps to Asuka, Charlotte comes to the ring, says to take their victory lap and make it quick because the people want to see her fight Asuka. The Iconics music hits. They come down. They say that the match everyone wants to see at Backlash is a triple threat tag team match for the women's titles. It will be Sasha and Bayley versus the Iconics versus Bliss Cross Applesauce. So then Asuka yells something, most likely to get out of the ring. Charlotte agrees. Charlotte goes to Sasha and Bayley and says no matter what, they're garbage. Both teams attack Asuka and Flair, and eventually Asuka and Flair clear house. We go to commercial, and what do you know? Typical WWE booking. We have a triple threat tag team match. Essentially, basically what's going to happen at Backlash, just substituting Asuka and Charlotte for Bliss and Cross. So Peyton and Sasha have a standoff in the ring. Charlotte with the blind tag goes after Bayley. Asuka blind tags to get after Sasha. Asuka's clearing house. Peyton with a gory special knee breaker on Sasha, which is pretty cool. Asuka and Charlotte only blind tag each other. They take turns beating on Billie Kay. Asuka blind tags again, puts Asuka lock on Billie Kay for the win. I get that Asuka and Charlotte are great, but they should not have won this match. I mean, it just makes both of them look that a team of just two individuals who are not even a tag team, who are not even going to be involved in the tag team title hunt at Backlash, is to beat both the teams that are supposed to. One is the champion, one is vying for the championship. Makes them look weak. We find out that the match is still happening between Asuka and Charlotte on the card. Charlotte with a cheap shot on Asuka. After their victory, holds the title. We then get a recap of Ray and Seth. Ray will have a follow-up interview. Seth's music hits. He comes to the commentary. They kick Byron out. Ray calls him a son of a bitch, but then it's an awkward cut because it goes right to break when he calls him a son of a bitch. It's kind of weird. He still has no exact update on the eye, but he warns Seth that he's got a 619 with his name on it. I like the 619, but it's not like this move. Like it's like, I have a chair shot waiting for you or a kendo stick waiting for you. I have a 619 where I have to set you up for it first and then perform it and then hit it. Very weird. I don't know. Seth doesn't understand the power. Seth says he doesn't understand the power of his words. He's spreading misinformation. He invites Ray and Dominic to Raw next week to show them the sacrifice was for the greater good. Obviously, Ray says, you know why you're inviting me, because I'm medically cleared and either I can come and not wrestle or I can't even show up. But while this is going on, a great shot. The best part of this whole thing was that Aleister Black leaps over the camera that was focused on Seth and attacks him, and then they go to break. It was great because it just, it was out of nowhere. You didn't see it coming. I liked it. We then get so then we get Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo tag match versus Buddy Murphy and Austin Theory. Theory with a roll through drop kick right on the jaw of Carrillo. Black and Murphy go at it. Black with straight kick to the jaw, does a moonsault. Black attempts a black mass, but Theory interferes and gets thrown out, then kicked in the face. Carrillo with a huge suicide dive. Step up V-trigger by Black on Murphy while he's on the top rope, and that's for the win. It was kind of an awkward ending because it kind of just came out of nowhere. I like that because I don't think necessarily you always have to do your finisher in order to get the match. I like that because it shows a little bit of, surprise. Some of these matches you like to be surprised. You want to see a finish come out of nowhere. So it was a great move. He hit him with the V trigger. When he was up on the top rope, completely knocked him out, caught him flush. Then Ray's music hits. Then you see Seth coming out with the in the suit still with the mask on. While they are distracted, Theory and Murphy regain their composure and attack Carrillo and Black. They jump him. Seth gets in the ring, says he'll make Black a sacrifice, and does a stomp on him after they caught a big beating. We get a backstage interview with Orton. Still going with the greatest match ever nonsense. Edge is the only and we're told that we're going to get Christian doing the peep show for the first time in a while. So he asks if Edge is going to be the only guest, and as far as Charlie knows, great. He says, stay tuned, because just between you and me, there could be 2 guests. So, you assume that he's going to then crash the segment. We then get the peep show. I am a huge mark for Christian, back both when he was in WWE, in TNA, and then back with WWE. I love his theme. I think it's just a complete banger as far as themes goes. So obviously they've dropped the brothers gimmick. They're just best friends. He says he thinks Edge is running on fumes. Doesn't think he could pull off the greatest match ever in his prime. He says Edge would be lying to himself if he thinks he can still live up to those lofty expectations. Edge says he was the one that who used to give Christian confidence back in the day. Christian says excuses, and then gets in his face. Brings up his mom, how she's gonna be in the front row, or something like that, or watching from home. I guess that she was at matches back in the day, but now that she'll be watching from home. He then, Edge, you can see with this look of anger, determination, frustration, fire, and Christian apparently, this is all just to, fire him up. Says that's the look he was looking for. They believe in him. Orton comes on the screen as opposed to coming out. Says that to shut up, and he's gonna, all this nonsense is gonna make him puke. Says he's going to embarrass him, and the redemption of Edge is over. So I do like. I mean, the build for this has been all right. I do think that they painted themselves in a corner by putting these lofty expectations of the greatest match ever. I think that tagline was completely stupid, unnecessary, unwanted, and now nothing that they do is going to live up to that, because everyone's just going to be expecting them to fail, and so when they do, they're going to say, "Told you so." Speaking of greatest match ever, I mean, they're not even going to be the greatest match this week based on what happened on Smackdown, which I'll get into. Recap of Drew and Lashley from last week. Backstage interview with MVP. Says if you want to know about last week, I guess what happened when cameras went off the air, you'll have to check out the VIP lounge. Here's a commotion, and the camera pans over to Truth fiddling with a road case. Lashley comes out of nowhere, puts him in the full Nelson. That's it. We then get a recap of the Street Profits and Raiders rivalry. We get kind of like an NFL Films voiceover of everything that's led up to it. So earlier that day, the Raiders said they choose sword fighting, and Ivar almost drops a sword on Ford for their decathlon. So I'm going to go through all of the events. We get the 16-meter dash. Ford laps Ivar twice, so Street Profits take a 1-0 lead. Archery, Dawkins hits some guy in the foot. Raiders win that, so it's 1-1. Flip Cup, Ivar breaks the table in anger. Street Profits are up 2-1. Sword fighting, Ford just says, "Nuh-uh," drops the sword. He says, "I'm not doing this." 2-2. Hurdles, Ivar runs through each one when Dawkins runs over each one, as you're supposed to. Street Profits are up 3-2. Stick fighting, so they're fighting kind of like a tug-of-war type thing, and then Ford says he's lactose intolerant, so Dawkins does it, falls pretty easily in the milk. I think they said it was goat's milk, so it's now tied 3-3. We get a dance-off. Ford dances to Sexy Boy, which was hysterical. And then Ivar says, "Hit it," and it's Fandango's music, and he starts flirting with one of the female judges. We get, they win because the female judge is the only one that votes for Ivar, so their Street Profits are up 4-3. Does the whole bit with the, you're cute, you're not, to Eric. We get shot put. Dawkins actually beats Eric there, so they're up 5-3. Turkey leg eating. It's not even a close matchup. Street Profits lose that one, so it's 5-4. Still Street Profits. We then get the pole vault. Ford clears easily. Ivar says to raise the bar. he clears it, quote unquote, does a flip over it even. It's 5-5, so I guess they're tied, but they continue to argue anyway about who won. We then get Apollo Crews out. Sounds like he's got new music. We get a recap of last week. Says he's excited to defend at Backlash against the winner of a triple threat match between KO, Angel Garza, and Andrade, which is, obviously Andrade and Angel Garza are in the same faction, so how's that going to work? We then get that match. Andrade and Angel come out first. KO attacks them, both before the bell, as they've been doing to him. They double team on KO until the first cover, when they, one pulls off the other. They start to argue, then they go back to double teaming. KO boots Angel Garza. Andrade goes after the injured knee. Apollo is watching backstage. They finally start to battle each other, Andrade and Angel on the outside. Zelina gets pushed to the ground. Angel and KO battle on the top rope. KO gets a senton, but Andrade breaks up the count. KO with a cannonball on both, but misses the third on Andrade. Andrade gives the knees to KO. Super kick by Garza on Andrade. KO with the super kick on Garza. Frog splash on Andrade by KO for a 2 count. Back elbow, Andrade does his back elbow to KO for a 2 count. Missile drop kick on KO from, I believe it was Angel Garza. There's just like a slap fest between Garza and Andrade, and it's just hamburger meat, super loud, echoing throughout the empty arena. Well, semi-empty arena. The fight spills to the outside. KO with a tope con hero on both of them. Hits the stunner on Garza. Oh no, he goes for the stunner on Garza but fails. Drop kick on the knee, then a submission attempt, but KO gets to the rope. Stunner on Garza. Well, also, which I always found funny, is there's supposedly no DQs in a triple threat match, so obviously the rope shouldn't have broken it. KO hits a stunner on Garza, but Andrade drop kicks KO in the knee, so he falls off, and then Andrade gets the win. So Andrade will be facing Apollo Crews for the United States title. I'm slinking in my chair. There we go. We get a recap of the women's segment from earlier. Backstage interview with Charlotte. Says she didn't lose because she doesn't get pinned or submitted. She didn't lose about her NXT match because she didn't get pinned or submitted. We then, she's a main evented takeover and now a Raw. And then, obviously, I'm just like, relax. Asuka dances into frame, says, you don't take anything seriously, do you? So Charlotte says that, and then she goes, yes, I do. And then paintbrushes Charlotte. So good. Love Asuka. She's the best. We get backstage with Angel and Andrade. They're arguing. Zelina is pissed at both of them, points to them to go over somewhere else, and they do, and they follow her. We then get, like a Zoom video submission by Kurt Angle. Gives his opinion of the... hold on 1 second. Gives his opinion of Edge and Orton at Backlash. He actually picks Edge. We get the Raiders backstage. They ask, Drew comes into frame, says they ask if he's finally going to join the raid. He puts them over, says, he sees Ivar's quite the ladies' man, from what he's been seeing and hearing. Drew's posting a celebration after Raw when they all win. He'll have meat and turkey legs. Says, check out the VIP lounge because you never know what could happen. We get the VIP lounge segment. As he's introducing Lashley, Drew's music hits. He thanks MVP because all the things that MVP was saying about Lashley, he didn't say Lashley's name, so Drew was quote unquote assuming that he was talking about him, so he's thanking him for the lovely introduction, even though, obviously, as I said, it was meant for Lashley. He said that he saw Lashley and Lana arguing backstage. Lashley caught him from behind last week. He doesn't know about the full Nelson, but he does know about the Claymore. He's going to teach him the secret for all. So then he goes to MVP saying, "Oh, you're going to teach him the secret of all the 0 championships you've won." Talk less, Claymore. That's actually a pretty nice, catchy line. Sorry, I'm gonna itch. So he says to MVP that he's gonna get a Claymore. He says either stand in here and take it like a man, or start to run. I'm going to catch you and do it. So he starts to do the countdown. Lashley shows up. MVP goes for a sneak attack, but gets a Glasgow kiss instead. Before Lashley can attack, the Raiders come down, and Street Profits come down too. We then get the Raiders versus Lashley and MVP with Street Profits and Drew at ringside. Lashley hits a flatliner on Ivar for a 2 count. There's a double team on Lashley by the Raiders. Lana watching backstage. Raiders take turns attacking MVP. Lashley with a spinebuster on Eric for a 2 count. Hot tag to Ivar. He hits a fun splash on MVP, who tags into Lashley. Ivar hits a suicide dive while they're arguing with Street Profits on the outside. Lana interview while this is going on. It doesn't bother her that it bothers her that she can't come to the ring, but she's been neglecting her own career, so now she realizes that instead of just being upset about it, she's going to work on her own career. I don't know if that's in ring or they're going to focus on the modeling stuff. I don't know. Eric the hot tag beats down MVP, does a fall away suplex. Ivar thrown into MVP in the corner. That move, Lashley breaks up the pin. Lashley spears Ivar on the outside, and then he gets the full Nelson on Eric, and he taps out. Ivar punches MVP and Lashley, and puts him in the full Nelson. Street Profits try to get him to break it. Drew Claymores him out of the ring. Once again, I understand that you have to make Lashley strong. You could have had MVP take the pin here, but now you've been building up this rivalry between Raiders and Street Profits for how long now? For several weeks. That they're the number one contenders. That Street Profits can't beat them in a tag team match when the belt is on the line, or in any way, I think, actually. And then since then, they lost. They just lost the tag team. Obviously, there were shenanigans around, but they lost. So now, what are you doing for the tag team division on Raw? Literally, there are no tag teams. There is Street Profits, there's War Raiders, Viking Raiders, whatever you want to call them, and they just lost to a team that is not there. What about Cedric and Ricochet? What about Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink? What about... I don't even know who else is on the roster. That's how bad they're treating the tag team division. And with that being said, how they treated New Day, the champs, on Smackdown, and the fact there isn't even a tag team match on the card, except the women's tag team match, which finally they're starting to do something with. But even that is okay. They had them. They had once again they had a team that was not even a real team of two people that are rivals and don't like each other win. So it was just really dumb. Okay. We then get our Asuka vs. Charlotte match, even though they had wrestled earlier. Bayley and Sasha come out to commentary. Flair with the boot before the bell starts. Another boot by Flair. Flair throws Asuka over the commentary desk. Asuka with the octopus lock back in the ring. Basement drop kick by Flair for a 2 count. Apparently the Iconics show up there in the stands watching. Amongst the NXT talent, or whatever you want to call them. Flair stomps Asuka's face on the mat. Asuka with the dragon screw on the middle rope with a flying hip attack against the barricades. Flair baseball slides to Asuka to keep her out of the ring. Asuka goes to the top but catches a boot. Iconics sneak attack Bayley and Sasha while this is going on. Iconics do their finisher on Bayley onto the announce table. During the commercial break, they're all sent away. Back in the ring, we get a hip attack by Asuka for a 1 count. Asuka with armbar attempt. Another hip attack, but caught into a suplex for a 2 count. Running knee by Flair with an arrogant cover for a 1 count. Asuka with the second rope missile drop kick. German release suplex and another hip attack in the corner. Kicks to the back and the hip attack sends Flair to the outside. Flair sends Asuka into the side of the ring. Asuka sliding knees on the apron, which I thought was pretty cool. Flair with the big boot on the apron looked even worse in slow motion. You could just see the how flush she caught Asuka on the face, not awful in the bad sense. Flair with a moonsault off the barricade. Flair sends Asuka's knee into the post, able to pull Flair into it. Hip attack misses, and she's hung up in the ropes, catches a big boot by Flair for a 2 count. Flair goes to spear Asuka, but she raises a knee. There's an inverted octopus by Asuka. Flair rolls through it. A spear by Flair for a 2 count. Nia comes to the ring, gets knocked down. Flair hits a boot and a pin for the win while she's distracted. It looks like... I think there was kind of a botch here because it looked like Asuka may have kicked out. Even when they went for the replay and show the pin, they cut away from it and you hear the ref hit the mat for the 3 count, but you don't actually see her there. I'm not sure if that was a botch or what. Nia ends up hitting a Samoan drop on Asuka, standing tall. So, by the math. So that was Raw. It was alright. Obviously, there's been a lot of news now that Paul Heyman is out as executive director of Raw, and Bruce Pritchard is in. Based on what we saw on SmackDown, I am very hesitant to give my blessing on this. Obviously, my blessing means nothing, but I just mean like how I feel about it. I like that Heyman was putting over the younger talent. Obviously he was limited in who he could use, but obviously it's Vince's call. So I assume that he was pushing Cedric and Ricochet, and obviously I assume that they weren't catching on with Vince. So Vince kind of told them to get lost or whatever. So interesting go home. It wasn't really a great go home, especially now because there was a heavy reliance on tag teams, and both tag teams, both men's for Raw and the women's tag team, were kind of made a little less important. Any background noise you hear, my neighbors behind me are kind of loud and doing a lot of different things, so just in case. Alright, so now we go to NXT. We get a recap of TakeOver with shots of people watching along, which I thought was pretty cool. We actually get a shot of Mauro Ranallo at home as he's doing live commentary. We get Undisputed Era arrive. Strong still looks shook from Loomis's abduction. Apparently Dream proved that he was one of the best, but he's just no Adam Cole, baby. What's next? Doesn't matter. He goes after Loomis. Strong says he doesn't like being stuffed in trunks, which I thought was kind of funny because their reaction to it was like, well, huh? Strong thinks he sees him in the crowd, and every time the Cole and Bobby Fish look over, he's not there, basically just ducking behind the barricade. I just thought it was really funny. Kind of like a PTSD type thing for Strong. Not to make light of it, but that's just kind of how I thought. Apparently Adam Cole will have a match against Dexter Lumis tonight, and then as they're going up the ramp, Strong is the last one out, last one through the curtain, looks back, sees Lumis again, then runs off. We get the backstage with the Undisputed Era consoling Strong. Keith Lee shows up, says, what's next for him, and then asks what's next for him, and Yui says, and then he says, what's next for him in the Undisputed Era? Undisputed Era says, not now, and they walk off. We then get a second mixed tag match in as many weeks. Keith Lee and Mia Yim versus Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. Candice in Lee's face, and he in Lee's face picks her up, but giving Gargano a chance to attack. The Garganos go for Ranas on both get caught, hit with the Super Collider, which is like kind of powerbomb position. They both get run into each other in their backs. They're held by Lee for Yim to do a suicide dive, but they move out of the way. Lee catches her, which is kind of funny. Both get dropped on the apron. Mia with soul food for the hot tag. Candice gets tag and jumps on Lee and goes after the eyes. Enzuigiri DDT combo by Lee by Gargano. Dragon suplex by Yim on Candice for a 2 count. Yim goes after Johnny. German suplexes both of them. Soul Food and Lion Salt by Candice. So she does Mia Yim's own move and then does her Lion Salt, but only gets a 2 count. Yim low bridges Johnny as he goes out of the ring. Lee pounces Johnny into both women. And then what happens is Johnny goes for a slingshot DDT, the last beat I think it's called, and as he does that he pulls Lee down on top of Candice, who was already hurt from before, and just gets completely knocked out. Lee feels really bad about it, goes to pick up Candice to see if she can get some help. While that's happening, Johnny rolls him up, and as he rolls up he kind of just tosses Candice out of the ring for the 3 count. I don't know if he grabbed the tights. It was close there. And then he's celebrating with a knocked out Candice, doing a Weekend at Bernie's type style, like just kind of raising her hand. She's like this. The WWE exclusive YouTube was pretty funny because you could tell she was concussed, and Johnny was just getting really excited and being loud. We get a post-takeover match interview with Priest. Says he's no excuses. He got beat. The next step, but this is the next step in his name living on. His name is on its way to live forever now. Says to Mackenzie that she's gorgeous as he leaves. Trying to be a little creepy with his women type thing. I have women. I will live forever. Damian Priest. Backstage interview with Grimes. Says he already has a win over Finn. Doesn't know why he's going to do it again. He's confident. That's my middle name. Cameron Confident Grimes. And he's not a loser like Priest. Doesn't have any fear in these eyes. Priest shows up behind him. He starts, being a bitch, saying, sorry, you did good. It was close, whatever. Gets caught with a forearm to the face, and which we'll see more of that later. We get a Io Shirai vignette celebrating her championship win. They made it seem like she was actually going to be on the broadcast, but she wasn't. So we get a kind of a recap of the match with her doing a voiceover. We get some more look-ins at the Full Sail regulars, kind of, and Moro. We get congratulation videos from people like Shinsuke and Asuka. She said this is now her division. Indus Sher with Malcolm Bivens against Mikey DeBray and Mike Reed. Word that we were also given word that Grimes can't compete. He's saying that he can't compete against Finn because he might have a broken jaw. Oh, that's my dog. We get a big boot to DeBray and another to Reed into the barricade. Rinku does a huge splashes on both. They do a leg drop, side slam combo for the win. It was a pretty quick squash match. Malcolm Bivens kind of doing his kind of like posing while they're looking really hard and tough. He's kind of doing kind of like he's not being as serious as they are, which I thought was good. We get backstage with Ref Drake. He's talking to Regal on the tablet. He's saying that doctors say that Grimes is telling them that he can't compete. Grimes thinks he has a broken jaw. Regal says he wants to talk to Grimes. And Grimes, so Drake walks off, finds Grimes talking to two women backstage, saying, "No, we'll go downtown, hang out." He's trying to get Grimes' attention. Grimes keeps just, telling him, "Go count somewhere, you're being annoying, leave us alone." He then says Regal needs to talk to him, so Grimes, of course, turns around, takes the tablet, says that he needs to get ready because his match is next. He calls the ref a stooge, and then he tells the ladies to get lost and that no one wants to go downtown with them. We get a Brizongo vignette. They talk about their outfits. They got too caught up in them. I actually thought I liked this because it was a little serious, but also had some jokes in it. They said that they got too caught up in it when they were on Smackdown. Breeze puts over Fandango's first match and win at WrestleMania. Fandango puts over Breeze, saying that he can't believe he's only 32. That's kind of a joke, but that he had this great match against Juventud Guerrero way back. They need to bring it in between the ropes from now on and just leave all the shenanigans outside the ropes. They said that they are going to face Emporium. He says, I don't think that's the right name, with Marsupial, Marcel Bartel. It's pretty funny. The title match is actually going to be next week on NXT. We get a recap of Cross Ciampa. We get a post-match interview with Ciampa where he comes outside into the parking lot, says, they've been done for hours, but he was still there. He no-sells any question being asked to him, gets in his car, and drives off. So, we don't know what's next for Ciampa now. Based on the end of this episode, it seems like they're already moving on from him. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Backstage interview with Rhea Ripley. She said she left everything out there on the mat. Io took advantage of an opportunity, and that's good for her. Robert Stone shows up, tells Mackenzie to leave, but then says, "I'll come back. You won't have to hear this." Says, "Can you feel the manager-client relationship over here between us?" That they were both were huge losers in 2020. He'll do everything for her, everything to set up. She says, the chances of me signing with the Robert Stone brand are 1 in a million. So he does the old Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. So then Rhea says, "All right, come with me." And then he gets all excited. They walk over, about 6 feet over. Gives him a dick punch, and then kind of slams him into a garbage can. So Robert Stone brand, actually Robert Stone himself, goes through. Sorry, I'm just scratching an itch. Goes through the top of the garbage can into the garbage. Pretty funny. He. I doubt that that's going to happen. I don't know now. Is he going to start recruiting heel women wrestlers to go after people like Chelsea and Rhea? I don't know. We get Cameron Grimes versus Finn Balor. Big chops from Finn. Roll through basement drop kick by Finn. Grimes running his mouth, as he's trying to take advantage. That actually sparks more Finn offense. Goes for a coup de grace, misses. Goes for a 1916, misses. Hits a reverse 1960, only for a 2 count. Coup de grace connects. 1916, Finn wins. Finn calls out Lee. When you're done playing house, come see me. He talk. They're terrible. So that they, he calls out Lee. Says the North American title is the one that he hasn't won yet. So he's going after it. So now we're starting that program, which is interesting. We then get Casey Catanzaro versus Dakota Kai. Casey actually beat Raquel in the Mae Young Classic a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. I remember that because she ended up putting Casey on her shoulders, and it just looked so funny how much bigger she was. We get a Senton Atomico by Casey. Casey with the Ron on to the outside. Flip kick by Casey for a 2 count. Kai with the flatliner into the middle turnbuckle. We get a Haluva kick by her for a 2 count. Scorpion kick, and then the GTK for the win, just the go to kick. Kai says she's coming for the championship and attacks Casey. Caden Carter comes out, tries to help out, but eventually gets powerbombed by Raquel. We then get this segment of Thatcher talking about the new Thatcher training school. You only see the backs of people. You don't see actual NXT talent of like who would be involved in that. Says that they need to make sure that they get their lawyers to look at these waivers and sign them so that they can't be Thatcher can't be responsible for any injuries he inflicts on them. And the training begins next week, so we'll get, I'm sure, some more stuff about that. We get a Phantasma in-ring segment. The crowd is kind of mixed on him because, they like him, but they also, love Drake, and they're kind of upset that he lost. Before he begins, Drake Maverick shows up. He's got new music, which is kind of annoying because I like his music. Drake congratulates him. Everyone should be talking about you, not me. Now that he has a contract, a lot of the distractions that he had going on are no longer there. And he says he knows he can beat Phantasma if he just gets a shot. Phantasma says yes. Then those masked men show up. Phantasma and Drake go back to back. Then Phantasma turns, and Drake can kind of feel I just got punked. Gets a headbutt. Goes to the ground. The masked men reveal themselves to be Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. So apparently he had 2 extra luchadors to help kidnap them and then indoctrinated them. So yeah, that worked out. Or he just he had 1 extra guy, and then one of those was 2 extra guys for the first abduction, and then Joaquin Wilde was already converted and goes in. We'll see. So then Phantasma, after they do a double splash on Drake, he unmasks himself, calls himself Santo Escobar, and then they double splash on Drake, which I thought, all right, wow, I don't know how long he's had the mask for, but he will no longer be a masked wrestler, which is a pretty big deal in the Lucha Libre community, so I would assume he was fine with it. So yeah. We get Undisputed Era backstage. Strong finds a drawing that Loomis, with them being beat up and bloody. And then as they leave, he looks through the door, and the door has a window, and Loomis is there. He gets freaked out again, leaves. We get a word that Tegan and Shotzi Blackheart will get a women's tag team title match against whoever the winner is after Backlash, which I thought was pretty crazy. We then get Adam Cole versus Dexter Loomis. Strong misses the boom because he's too shook seeing, what do you call it? That's so ridiculous. Strong misses the boom because he's too busy looking at Loomis. It just looks really funny. Says apparently he woke up in his own bed after the abduction, several hours later, which I thought was really creepy. Loomis no-sells offense by Cole, goes on the attack. Strong with stick on his shirt. I don't know what that is. Cole talking smack and pie-facing Loomis. Loomis asking for more punishment on his knees. He's on his knees asking for it. Corner clothesline and bulldog combo by Loomis. German release suplex by Loomis for a 2 count. Loomis does the Anaconda submission, but it fails. Gets a super kick. Cole for a 2 count. Last shot misses, and then he hits Dexter Loomis hits a spine buster. Loomis is gets tossed outside. Cole tells Fish and Strong to get him, but he's not there. He emerges apparently on the other side of the ring behind Cole. Another spine buster for a 2 count. Senton from the top, but Cole gets the knees up. He goes for a Panama Sunrise, but it's countered into the Anaconda Vice. Strong gets in, kicks on Loomis for the last shot and the win, so he kind of distracts the ref. He gets the last shot for the win. Cole stands over Loomis, and Loomis gets up, almost Undertaker style, and puts Cole in the Anaconda Vice. Dream comes out, so because the Undisputed Era start trying to kick him and he won't let go, so Dream comes out and starts fighting them. The ring is cleared for Cole. He's standing there. The lights go out. Scarlett shows up with a spotlight at the apron. At the top of the ramp. Fall and pray chants. She starts walking over to the ring very slowly and then presents a hourglass. Turns over the hourglass so it starts to empty out, and where do we get TikTok chants? Oh, we get TikTok. Oh, because I spelled it TIK like the app. I was like, why is it TikTok? So they start doing TikTok. The time is approaching. Shots of Scarlett and Cole with the hourglass. It was a really nice touch. I like the way it was kind of framed. So you would have Cole here and then the, kind of the hourglass here. It's pretty cool. I liked it. So kind of interesting. So they've kind of just basically ended the Ciampa, Ciampa cross feud. I don't know if he's going to do a crisis of confidence. I don't know if he's going to go to main roster now. Matt Riddle will be making his debut next week. So be interesting to see what they do. I do like the reveal of Santo Escobar now. I do think that adds a little extra because there was obviously thoughts that he was going to be the one behind everything, but there was nothing there yet. Just the fact that they never had any physical interaction with the people that he was, that were doing the abducting was kind of telling. So I liked it. Yeah. So now we're going to go to Smackdown from last night because I'm recording this Saturday. Recap of Jeff Hardy, Renee Young. Oh, and by the way, this is the worst segment of all time, or one of the worst. It was completely stupid. I did not enjoy this Raw really that much. There were some good spots, but overall, snooze fest. I actually was falling asleep at the end, so my notes at the end are pretty shoddy. Renee Young in the ring for Hardy Sheamus contract signing. Security comes in there, and this giant box. Comes to the rings with the doctor and the entourage and this kind of like privacy cover type thing. Says the security is there for Hardy, not for Sheamus. I don't know why. It makes no sense. Hardy needs to take a urine test before the match. He convinced WWE to let that happen because he doesn't want to take a chance, which I think is completely stupid. Calls him a junkie, and the doctor is nodding. So, like, this doctor was obviously it was, kayfabe doctor, but, like, just even trying to be somewhat professional. He's, like, nodding and, like, agreeing with Sheamus when he calls the guy a junkie. Ridiculous. So Jeff starts going like his name is Jeff Hardy and he's an alcoholic and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not blah, blah, blahing the insignificance of it. This whole angle has been really weird for me. I don't think I like it very much. Says he needs to feed his demons in the presence of Sheamus, who's just an asshole, and that he should be a beacon of light for all those who are struggling and have similar issues to Jeff Hardy. Apparently the test is a rapid test with immediate results. So while he's peeing, Sheamus does a PSA. If you're a user, you're a loser. There was way too much piss in this beaker. Way too much piss. And way too yellow. So, yellow, the more dehydrated you are. The more you're dehydrated, the less piss you're going to go. So right there was just completely oxymoronic visual you were looking at. It was just so dumb. So the doctor is putting in, I guess, one of those kind of test strips or whatever to test it. Hardy says, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on, and then grabs the cup with the piss, throws it in Sheamus's face. Absolutely ridiculous. He just got urinated on. And the piss took 2 seconds too. So I don't know how Hardy was pissing. So Hardy touches the piss in his face. What's his name? Sheamus goes crazy. He's destroying stuff. But meanwhile, this whole time, the security group that he brought in are just standing there, no-selling everything, just not even reacting. Unnecessary. Back from commercial, Sheamus in the bathroom, kind of clean, trying to do a sink bath. It was kind of gross. Doc pops in, says he's negative for drugs, and obviously Sheamus gets really pissed off again because he was apparently anticipating Jeff to fail. The other problem is that aren't there some kind of HIPAA rules stopping him from giving the results to Sheamus? I don't know. I mean, not like they care about that kind of stuff. We get the New Day versus Cesaro and Shinsuke, which I had briefly mentioned regarding tag teams on my Raw section of this video. New Day come out. They get on one knee, put up the fist in solidarity and representation of everything that's been going on in the country. They throw their jackets at Corey like really hard, which I think is always funny. And he's like, every week with this now. New Day is playing the violin to Shinsuke's music, the air violin, which I thought was pretty funny. Kofi goes for a leapfrog, but Cesaro catches him for like a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, which is really impressive. He looks just straight jacked right now. Double stomp by Kofi on Shinsuke for a 2 count. Cesaro takes out New Day on the outside while ref is distracted. Kofi with the hot tag, offense on Shinsuke. Kofi with an SOS on Shinsuke. Cesaro breaks up the count. And then Kofi goes with a frog splash on Shinsuke, but unfortunately Shinsuke kind of gets the knees up. It was kind of a weird finish because kind of got the knees up and then rolled him into a pin, and so they have it. So Shinsuke and Cesaro have pinned the tag team champions. I will check again the card right before I do my my WWE Backlash preview and predictions to see if any matches have been added to it. But right now we're at 7. I think 8 would be just enough. You don't need to do any more than that if they decide to put one tag match on, or just save them for TV. They can make banger tag matches and just stop neglecting it. But anyway, we get backstage with Heavy Machinery. This is actually really funny. Otis is blindfolded. Tucky says he's got to use his other senses, so he kind of rings a bell for hearing, puts various foods underneath him. So while this is going on, Mandy walks up and kisses Otis on the lips, and the best part was his reaction was like, "Oh, Tucky, I appreciate the help, but I think this is the wrong time." And he takes off the blindfold. "Oh yeah, Mandy, oh yeah." So Mandy wishes them good luck. Says not to forget the briefcase though. And so I like that because I like what happened next because I thought it was really cool. So Mandy gives him the briefcase, and at first you're already thinking like, okay, Tucky's going to be annoyed by this because they're caring more about the briefcase than the match. But he actually goes in to tell him like, listen, Braun is our partner. If there's an opportunity, you need to take it. And I love that about Tucky. I love that. I think that's great. I think that if he does do a turn, it makes it even more shocking because it seems like he's so far in Otis's corner right now. And I like it just if they decide not to split up, the fact that they're not going to split up, even if Otis wins the championship or doesn't win the championship, we're not going to lose Heavy Machinery. They're not going to be causing a breakup because I just don't see Tucker on his own. Nothing substantial, at least. I mean, that's just my thought. We get a vignette narrated by Corey about the IC title and its lineage, which I thought was pretty cool. We then get the finals of the Intercontinental title tournament. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. I was a little in and out on this one. I was just starting to get tired there, so I'm not going to go too in-depth here, or actually, kind of in-depth. This was an absolute fucking banger of a match. Just absolutely banger of a match. One of the best TV matches I've seen in a while. It's very even to start. Bryan with a suicide dive, Bryan with the arm submission and converts for a pin for a 1 count. AJ also doing some arm shoulder manipulation. That was kind of the story in the beginning. They were both going after each other's arms and shoulders. Bryan goes for a surfboard, but his arm is still hurting. Goes for an inverted surfboard for a 2 count. Series of near falls between the two. They do a midair collision. Both are down. What's his name? Bryan goes for a yes lock. Countered into a slingshot. Bryan catches AJ and rams his shoulder into the post. Bryan stomps the arm like Shayna does, kind of like folds him up, puts it on the ground. Did that I think more than once. So AJ does a dragon screw to Bryan's leg onto the apron. It's pretty rough. AJ wraps Bryan's leg in the ropes and then stomps him while he's doing that. AJ goes to the top, but Bryan able to get him to trip. Bryan with the top rope Rana. Does his yes kicks. There's slugfest in the ring. We get AJ jump to the outside by Bryan. A phenomenal forearm is blocked into an armbar, countered into a calf crusher. We get Bryan with the kick to the head for 2 count, Pele kick. Bryan with an ankle lock, and then hits a German suplex while he's in the ankle lock for release German suplex for a 2 count. Brian gets the yes lock, but it's broken up. Brian faces stomp. AJ Styles clash, but he can't cover. AJ with the phenomenal forearm for the win. So, I mean, what I said just doesn't even do it justice. If you get a chance, watch it. I'm actually going to rewatch it because it was just really good, and I remember that I kind of zoned out of a couple parts. Not because there was anything wrong with the match, but just because I was so tired. We get a post-match interview with Renee. Says he's the best champ ever, and he is phenomenal. So we'll see who is the next to challenge, or if they're going to go right back to Brian for a rematch, or Drew Gulak, who actually has a pin win over him 2 weeks ago. We get a recap of Miz Morrison messing with Braun. Braun reading some quote about talking about like what happened tonight and what's going to happen. It was really bad. It just looked so stupid. There's a lot of things going on here tonight, folks. Like, so dumb. He says, after he gets done with them, there's going to be nothing to fix. He likes Otis, but he's not in the mood for it tonight, and he has no problem destroying heavy machinery. We get a recap of Bayley and Sasha winning the championships the other week. Bayley attempts to take a selfie with Cole. Corey tries to get in there, and Bayley says, "Move out." They move the camera so that Corey can't get in the picture, which I thought was pretty funny. Crowd boos as Bayley speaks. Titles represent their friendship. Bayley wrote a poem for Sasha, and as she's about to read, Alexa, Bliss Cross Applesauce comes to the ring. They start to jar at each other. Iconics hit the scene. Don't turn your back on Alexa and Nikki, and they go on the attack. Backstage with Miz and Morrison. Kayla got slimed, no big deal. Everyone is talking about her now. New music video, hey, hey, ho, 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 ho. Ridiculous. Video gets interrupted, though, within the first couple seconds by Braun's music, and then you see on the Tron the trains. So Tucky goes for a back body drop on Morrison, and he lands on his feet. It looked cool because he kind of, instead of just like your normal where you kind of do a flip, he kind of came off Tucky and kind of slid and did like a flip, lands on his feet, ready to pounce. Tucky catches Morrison springboard into a power slam for a 2 count. HM throw. Oh, heavy machinery throw Braun into Ziggler in the corner, kind of like Irish whipped him. Tucky has Ziggler in a suplex when all of a sudden Baron Corbin comes on the screen, tells the cameraman to come with him, and he goes to confront Mandy face to face over last week, talking about how Otis stretched out the ring with his big head. Otis immediately jumps off the apron and runs after them. Baron says, we see you've been fantasizing, so clearly you've been fantasizing about me. Otis out of nowhere attacks him. We get back from break. It's now a handicap match. Eventually, Otis makes his way back into the ring, gets the hot tag, does the Caterpillar on Dolph for the win. I don't like the Caterpillar as his finisher, but this is what they want to do. So they're all celebrating in the ring, and we go off the air, and that is your SmackDown recap for this week. What are we at here? Oh, not too bad. So as always, I do my match of the week. No brainer. It is Bryan versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title. Intercontinental title is the last title, I guess, that AJ needed to win. I'm sure he's some kind of Grand Slam champion now. Maybe not. I don't know if he's had tag titles. Now that I think about it. But yeah, I mean, this was the go home. This was the last image before Backlash. I mean, an okay build for some of the matches. Some of the matches I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about them. I guess I'll get into it once I get into my my previews. So as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Do all that stuff. My social media is down there. As always, stay safe. Love everybody, and bye now. Don't forget to see my other videos. I am Groot. What were you two talking about? I am Groot. Wait, the girl from the bar last night? I am Groot. And her roommate? I am Groot. So, I think maybe you can bring me on the next time, double date maybe? I am Groot. Oh, no, no problem. I totally understand. All good, all good. Cool, 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 cool.